Put those earbuds in. Listen to me screaming, Heike. Listen to me screaming. What is shaking? It is episode 149, Golden Mike Live. I want y'all sitting there on a Friday right now, thinking about the week, reflecting on how May has been for you. Drop into it. Is there any fear going on in you? Well, our guest today is an expert at taking your fear and moving it to this idea of freedom. What is freedom? Well, we're going to talk to her about that in a bit. Our guest, Christina Heike. Heike. I said Heike, but I said it right in the pre-show. Heike, you got to listen to this, y'all. Christina Heike, international trauma and emotional clearing expert. You came here a couple years ago to New York City from Berlin, baby. Highly sensitive. I can't wait to talk to you about this. A highly sensitive person in a not so highly sensitive family. So I can't wait to hear that.
That was great.
I can't wait to hear about that. Heike, how are you doing today?
Heike is my last name, right? You
get that? I know. I like calling you Heike. I just like saying
Actually,
it.
You're not the only one. No kidding. Because in Germany, Heike is a first name. So
really?
All my life, I run into that thing, like, and when I was younger, people were like, give me your last name. I'm like, well, it's Heike. And they're like, give me your last name. Germans are so nice, so especially when you call government offices. So that was always a thing. So, yeah.
Now, is there anyone in your family or in Germany named Heike?
Not that I know of.
Well, there you go. Something to shoot for.
Nah. I think that's like, you don't really want to the children we raise, they already have enough baggage they carry with them, from... We don't want to add that on, give them a name they can live with.
Well, I love that as well, because you're beginning to imply this idea of ancestral trauma. And so we're going to talk about all of this today on this beautiful Friday. By the way, it's a double header on the Golden Mic. We've got two guests today, so it's Mark Cordone all the time this Friday. And so, Heike, it's amazing to have you on as our first guest. We've got a couple people saying hi to you. We got a couple people saying hi to you.
Where's the feed? I'm such a, where's the feed?
Well,
Hello.
I'm just going to read it to you because you can't see it right now. So you'll see it on the replay. Amy O'Neill, you may have heard of her. Amy O'Neill is giving you a huge applause right now. My partner is saying hi to you. Crush it, Mark Cordone and Christina Heike with exclamation parts. Her name is Melanie Klein, so you might know the reason.
That's German.
Yes,
I'm Melanie.
My partner is very German, Christina. So maybe you can teach me
let's
something.
Talk after. I need like maybe we have something we can do together. Let's connect.
I love it. I love it. You've got someone named Carrie Ann logging in saying hi to you. They're all here. They're all showing.
All in support of me. Yay.
Absolutely, they're in support of you. We love you, Christina Heike. We love you. We also love this topic of moving from free. Oh, they're already hitting the love button. Hit that love button. They love you. We're going to be talking about this idea of moving from fear to freedom today, and what freedom, what fear means, and everything in between, all the way to ancestral traumas, to personal traumas that you may have experienced. Christina is an absolute expert in the industry when it comes to this, so it's an honor to have you on. For those of you who haven't met me, I know a lot of people are here to see Christina today, and we're going to highlight her. Those of you who haven't met me, my name is Mark Cordone. I'm a positive psychology coach, founder of Make Money Coaching, and the co-founder of The Joy Revolution with Melanie Klein. The famous German Melanie Klein, and the famous German Christina Heike today. Heike, you both will kill me if I say Heike. So what I get to do, essentially, is ask people this on a regular basis. Number one, how happy are you today? And number two, how much are you living in your purpose today? It's the easiest job in the world and the funnest job in the world. So, Christina, I'm so happy we finally have met. You've been poking around the show. You've been circumventing through the other guests, and now you're finally a guest on the show. How happy are you today, and how much are you living in your purpose?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Mark. I'm really happy to be here and to meet you. How happy am I? I'm happy. And at the same time, I told you in the little pre-conversation, like I got a little something going on yesterday that kind of gave me a little bit of a lump in my tummy.
Yeah.
Just that doesn't keep me from being happy. I can't have both feelings. And I think that's part of the conversation. How much do we identify with that one feeling that is not feeling so great right now? And
Oh,
how can we like embrace that and integrate it and be like, yeah, so I'm happy and I feel a little bit funky from yesterday and that's okay. Like not a big deal.
I love it. I also love the fact that you can talk about when it comes to feeling funky and feeling happy and know that they can coexist. A lot of people feel that or think that in order to truly feel happy, you have to be devoid of other feelings in your life. So for those of you who are feeling good and you're living life to your full purpose, like someone else who's supporting Christina today, Dorothy Berlikowska,
Hi, Dorothy.
they're all
Hey.
here. They're all
Oh,
here to see you. Give us
hey,
some
my
hearts.
girl.
How do you make hearts over there in
I make hearts
Oh,
like
I love it. I love it.
dum
Oh,
dum
she's
dum.
you beat the heart, I make the noise. Berlikowska said this. Christina is amazing. Is that true, Christina?
Yeah,
You,
sure.
you're damn right it's true. You're damn right it is. So, here's the deal, y'all. Also, Christina called it out. Positive psychology is not about 24/7 shits and giggles. It is not about Skittles and rainbows 24/7. A very popular positive psychologist, Tal Ben-Shahar, once said, if you're feeling only one feeling, like happiness, all the time, 24/7, you're one of two things. Exactly. Christina's like totally fighting this. You're one of two things. Number one, you're dead if you're only feeling one emotion. And
Love
number
it.
two,
Yeah.
you're a total sociopath if you only feel one emotion, because life is about
Well,
experiencing the ups, downs,
so
and all arounds. Tell me, Christina.
let me give you number three. You're in complete denial. And that's what actually the biggest group is. And that's what all of us go through more or less. And the amount of denial, and I'm sorry, I like, like love like idioms, and the American version is like having your head up your,
Ass!
thank you. And,
We're
and
already like a show. I'm completing your sentences, Heike.
cool. So, and I'm meaning like I see that in the sense of like you just see dark. You're in denial. You don't see. You don't. Yeah. There's no light. And so the denial is again not a big deal because we all have it to some extent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just choose to see as clear as you can.
Yeah.
Be aware. If you only feel one emotion, something is up. Something is not quite right because we're so multifaceted. Even if you're not a super creative entrepreneur or something, but like every person has so many facets to them.
Carrie Ann just said amen. Amen,
yeah,
she just said.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the biggest job for us is to kind of like acknowledge all these facets and love them up and hold them and like mother them and nurture them and be like, yeah, hey, fear, you show up. Oh, wow, what happened? Can I do something for you? How can I relax you? How can I, like one of my Buddhist teachers would always say, fear needs like the hammock and like warm blanket and cushioning and a little bit of rocking because, she's already out of her mind.
I want to know who your Buddhist teacher is. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Give us a thumbs up if you're totally feeling what Christina is talking about right now. We're gonna have a full hour of Christina. I'm loving this already. She just totally rewrote the beginning of my show now. Like now I have 3 things to say about one unidirectional happiness. Right. Here's the last thing I just want to say about positive psychology, and it's this idea of hope. Right? And I'm not talking about like wishful thinking hope. I'm talking about knowing that today, whether it's the worst day was yesterday or the best day was yesterday, if you know that today you're creating the best day of your life because of all your other experiences you get to incorporate, all the happy, all the sad, all the funky, all the squirrely feelings, right? You get to incorporate it in today and make it the best day of your life. That is as powerful as emotional intelligence and IQ. Hope theory. Look it up. It's by Snyder. It's good stuff. If you're feeling hopeful on this Friday, Christina's like bursting to talk right now. There's an emoticon down there. Christina, it's called the wow face. It's called the wow face. I want you to show us what your wow face looks like.
My wow face?
Yeah.
You just thought.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so Heike, we've got a lot to talk about, so I'm going to get right into you. Let's get to the nitty gritty. Tell me about this Christina.
Let me add something.
She wants to get right into it. Let's do it.
Because you said the best day. And for many people, that, like, I think triggers, it has to be like an amazing day. It has to have all whatever grand schemes of what, an amazing day, a best day for, like, if you're not feeling good, could be cuddle up in a blanket, take a nice bath, take a walk, be good with yourself, be calm, like relax into not feeling so great. And that's going to be the best day you can have considering the circumstances and what's going on for you at this day.
Where the hell have you been my whole life? My goodness, Heike. I think I officially know who's going to take over this show. I'm ready to retire now. Heike. Amazing. And everybody's tuning in right. Look at this. Berlikowska just said this. Christina has a gift of seeing right through your soul and knowing exactly what you need. She was my tough love, kind reminder to allow myself to take care of me and not carry the whole damn world on my shoulders. Heart. Look, everyone's like, this is like the kindness roast of Christina Heike today. Everyone's coming forward. Amazing.
Thank you for that.
So given all of that, given that quirky introduction, Heike, I want to know about you. I want to know your story. So let's start out there. Tell me about you.
Well, my story starts with that my parents called me Christina, just for the record.
Okay. They didn't call you Heike. I get the message loud and clear.
Gonna be the last time I pointed out. Never mind. Like it's like, as I said, like I'm fairly used to it. I know who you mean. So my story. It's like there's so many lines, different angles in my story. The one for that fear angle is really that I've been raised in a not very sensitive family, and both of my parents have been kids during World War II. So they were born in 32, World War II started 39, was over 45. My mom was a refugee from what is now Poland, fleeing on foot from the Russians back then. Both of my parents basically don't share much of their stories at all. The only real family historian is my aunt, who is like 91 just a few days ago.
Oh, congratulations. Amazing.
So I know many stories about the family from her. And so both my parents are pretty traumatized, emotionally closed off or, And so, and they had a lot to deal with a lot of fear that was, I don't think they had much help in dealing with it. Like when my mom was fleeing with her family, her mother had just died also. And she was like, so there was a lot that was going on for them that triggered fear. And from epigenetics, we know even without telling your children, you transmit that stuff.
Absolutely.
And then they also did the good job of telling in terms of careful, intruders might come, don't open the door, don't go out in the dark, but they would not give me the emotional support in dealing with that. They would just put it out there. So I was like scared on an ongoing basis, nightmares, everything.
Plus you are a highly sensitive person, right?
Yeah.
Is this something that you knew as a child, or were you like, did you already know that you saw the world a little bit differently as a child, or was it something that as you grew older you experienced?
No, I experienced it. I felt like really not belonging in that family. I felt like a very much like the oddball, like the black sheep kind of person. Everyone else was kind of like had their game face on. Just me, I was like, I didn't. I would challenge my parents. I would like with all kinds of things. I had a even back then I had a deep connection with divine spirit, like without my
Really?
parents. Yeah, and it was just a natural, and it was also like I was looking to understand what was going on around me after I kind of accepted that I was lonely in that family. I was feeling alone, and I was trying to understand what was going on. Why did my father have all these outbursts? Why was he drinking? Why was my mom so removed? Like, why did my brother not had a clue what was going on? Like, I was always like questioning these things. And I luckily had neighbors I was going to from the age of 8 or 9 or something, who would talk to me actually, who would have real conversations, that what I couldn't have in my family. So they were a lifesaver.
Amazing.
And help to reflect on all that stuff.
Amazing. So for those who are watching and they're hearing this term, highly sensitive person, HSP, for the first time, what is a highly sensitive person?
I'm kind of like, because it has become such a label.
Yeah.
I kind of have a little bit of a reaction. I kind of let me just back up a little bit. I think I'm someone who feels deeply, who is, I read energy, I feel energy, I can come into the room and get a headache because of what's going on without knowing what's going on. I can feel that. It has actually, in my work, it's a huge plus. And also you asked me if, do I live my purpose? I didn't even answer that. So the answer is yes, because I'm so tuned in. Like, I get really, I feel not good if I have to stay stuck in a situation. It's almost like an inner drive needing to self-actualize and be like, no, this needs to look different. And that doesn't mean perfect. Forget it. My life is not perfect. It's just like what do I need to do to create the best life and the vision and the purpose I have here on the planet. And being highly sensitive means you can really actually feel stuff, and you're not completely like what happened? I don't know. You're very tuned in, and for some people that's a problem because it's too much. Yeah. And especially then if you have a family who is more of the what's going on kind of variety, that creates a lot of hurt and blockages.
So without your neighbors, do you feel like you would have had some issues growing up with that sort of highly sensitive? We'll put the tag on it for the sake of understanding that sort of area of your life. But do you feel like you would have had some more challenges, or did you experience challenges, or did you ever try to turn it off?
Okay, last question on the rule. So I totally would have had more challenges.
Okay.
I think as it was, I had enough challenges.
Sure.
It's not that I feel like, it's like I really felt very disconnected from my parents, and I felt very disconnected from myself also. Even though there was kind of a red thread that helped me through it. That's why I think I was able to go on this journey and to go to my yoga class, my first when I was 12, and take my mom with me and just go and look and experience and look for things that would help me with physical pain, which I had plenty, and also with my emotional pain. Yeah. And so it's kind of that it's like a, what's that saying? It's your biggest dragons or your biggest fears are also kind of hiding your biggest treasures. So it's the idea of like, like my challenges prepared me for also the gifts I have to give.
Absolutely love it.
My highly sensitive, feeling like unloved and all that made me remother myself, made me look for ways of release my blockages and really consciously look for it and find like piece by piece. And then it never really did it fully for me until I found something called new decision therapy. And I finally felt like I could like let go of those deep rooted blockages that were really kind of like sitting there, and I knew they were sitting there and I didn't know what to do about it.
Okay, so
And
new decision therapy. This talk a little bit about this, the philosophy behind new decision therapy, and what about it was different for you in terms of really bringing you back to full connection with self.
well, the idea is really that all of us can fully like are here to be fully ourselves, our unique version of ourselves. I'm also an educator and teacher, so that's what I also always wanted. I think like we all come with a certain set of talents and not so, things we don't do so great, and that's how we are. That's called being a human being.
Yeah.
And we all pretend that we have to have like mastery in certain subject matters or something. And it's like, well, how about mastery in how we are with ourselves and with other people? Because that's the basis of everything we're doing. Any work, any project we do is connected to people, or an effect on people. And so the idea is that we all come with blockages, some like with a lot of ancestral blockages. That's why we're going to have a panel, understanding dialogue between Holocaust survivors, second generation World War II Germans. So ancestral trauma. And I think part of my big fear that I couldn't even put my finger on comes from that whole World War experience of my parents, for example.
Okay. So let's go there, because we've talked about that a couple times, and I feel like this is a good time to go in to the idea of ancestral trauma, right? There were certain things that you said that we can completely pass on trauma via our genes, just from going through something, having it unresolved. It shows up in DNA polymerase, the way it's expressed. People can take swabs of saliva in the mouth, and it shows things similar to trauma, like shortened alleles and stuff like that. What is this idea of ancestral trauma?
Well, I think the purpose is a very good one. Like it's meant to protect us, right? Because fear is actually a protection mechanism. So I'm totally not a fan of all this fearless thing. It's like, what the hell? I don't want to be fearless. I need my fear. Please let me have it. Right? It's like I need my fear to give me information about the world, about and how I act in it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where it comes back to being a compass. And then of course, like for me, I realized parts of my fear were so big that they were hindering me of doing what I wanted to do in the world. So I had to work with them. Right?
Okay.
But fear in itself is a helpful mechanism, and it's helpful to be like, especially like I mean, we have a quote unquote animal body, and like from where we come from in the animal world, it's helpful to have those informations being handed down epigenetically, so we don't all have to be eaten by a snake in order to learn that that's dangerous, right? So that's the idea behind it.
Yeah.
And so it's a cool mechanism just for us human beings with like that conscious mind and that very complex life we live, and the very complex emotional beings we are, or I should say physical, emotional, spiritual beings we are. It becomes often too much to handle. And it's also often not helpful. It's not helpful anymore.
So
It
there's
reverses.
there's an inherent good, just like fear, right? That ancestral trauma, the passing of that onto your offspring, would do in terms of like survivalism, right? And those things. But also, what I hear you saying is that when it goes too far, it can really stifle you. Um,
Of course.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but I can totally see something, just like any trauma, right, where you're in a perfectly safe situation, and the trauma causes either an activation or a trigger to go off, and suddenly you feel unsafe when you're surrounded by safety, or you're lying in bed, and suddenly your fight or flight and freeze mechanism has gone off, and there's nothing chasing you. Is that what you're talking about in terms of it starts working against us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big part of what I mean working against us, or if you're constantly in an anxiety state, constantly in that kind of alert mechanism that the
Yeah.
fight, flight, freeze makes, that's not helpful. That's burning us out,
Oh,
and
absolutely. Yeah.
it's not and it keeps us from really doing what we came here to do,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
So let me ask you this: do you feel like every human is born already with trauma? That part of their life is to help heal that trauma, or are some folks more uh, vulnerable already, or some communities are already vulnerable to being having more ancestral trauma?
I think that some communities are like, or that a population or a community has like also like a common theme in ancestral trauma.
Gotcha.
So like 2G Holocaust survivors, like World War II, like world generation, the ancestors of slavery, the Native Americans.
Yeah.
There has like that's not just I mean, I say just really in quotation marks, and Trisha is going to kill me, but
I know. I'm like, what are you doing? She taught us not to do those quotation marks. That's the first thing she tells us. I'll edit it out of the final thing, if it will save you from getting the lecture.
So anyway, so it's not just this individual trauma. It's like really like the trauma of your group, of your community that is also handed down.
Sure.
And then on top of this, your very individual trauma. What happened to your parents? So what happened to your mom? And then what is happening in your upbringing? So it's not so clear cut, right? And we all also, like, in terms of being brought up by people with trauma, we are immersed in behavior that kind of conveys that trauma on and on and on. And we have our very individual perception of it and reaction to it. There's no recipe. There's no, oh, because your parent experienced that, you need to feel that. That's not how it works. It's so much more complex.
Now, before we get into the complex, is the purpose of some of the work that you do with some of your clients to release trauma, or to work with the trauma? Like, what would be the purpose of once someone identifies that trauma, right? So that's the fear, right? Where do we start going when it comes to the path to freedom? Because you did indicate that fear is already the compass, so it needs to be there. It's already giving you kind of a litmus.
Let's put it that way. People have different compasses. Mine was fear, was a big one. Other people might have the feeling of being completely stuck, like you're in the screen right now. Oh, no, you're good. You're back.
I'm not stuck.
Okay.
I'm just paying attention.
So, okay, I got it.
I'm here.
So, some people have that feeling of complete stuckness and not knowing how to move and being really frustrated and angry with themselves and having a very like super negative self-talk and putting themselves down, not feeling good enough. There's so many entryways of how that expresses,
I
and
can
it's
totally
usually
relate
not
to
just
that.
one.
I can totally relate to that one, in terms of never feeling good enough and always feeling like I'm getting pulled in different directions, right? Like, definitely difficulty with like coming up with a final decision on things, which has had problems with my kidneys and my throat and all this good stuff, right? So the trauma has definitely manifested in as physical ailments for me,
That is
Oh, and
totally.
so that's something that you normally see as well, right? Like, not only
Yes.
is it a psychological thing, but it'll show up in maybe, how does it show up?
Well, again, every person has
Is different.
their,
Yeah.
like their spots, and depending on the trauma. So, and it's not always clear. Often it is a clear connection. So someone who never was able to speak up often has a blockage here and feels like a lump in their throat when they're ready to speak up and feel like, oh, I can't do it.
Yep.
I had a huge lump in my solar plexus area, like this, the like real, like, that is a good compass now,
Yeah.
because if it's like doing this, like, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
something is up.
Yep.
Um, so everyone feels that differently, and every illness also has, like, I want to be very clear, because like this whole new age thinking about illness has also really done a disservice to people. It has done a service, but also a disservice, and the disservice would be, oh, it's all emotional, it's just like you just have to like just change your mindset, or you're gonna heal your cancer. Well, it's not that easy. Like, it's great if you do that, but if it has like if you inhaled asbestos for like a long time,
Yep.
like, changing your mindset is always a good idea because it makes you feel better, of
Yeah.
course. But that doesn't, like, it's not the only thing. So illnesses are composed of a variety of things, and new decision therapy can take care of the emotional aspect of it,
That's really.
depending, how big it is. Like, think pie chart, think pizza, like, right?
Oh,
Someone's
I'll think
like
pizza all day
someone.
and all night.
So
Yeah.
there you go, like, and depending on how big of a slice your emotional
Oh, now
in
you're
your
talking
illness
my.
is,
Now you're
yeah,
talking
and
my
how much
jive right
cheese
here.
is on it.
Now you're talking my jive here. I'm ready to go and get my BS and master's new decision therapy. I have to just tune in right now with yeah, my soul sister and your German brethren, Melanie Klein. Yeah, that's right. In Germany, that's a first name. I grew up in Wiesbaden,
Oh,
Wiesbaden,
good. No, Wiesbaden. Your first
Wiesbaden.
pick was
Okay.
very good.
And by the way, Melanie feeds me a steady diet of Mamba candy. Mamba candy brought to you by Germany.
Oh, you can get that here? I didn't even know. I gotta get it from my son. He's gonna be like, ah!
That was the first thing I asked her because I was raised when my parents were getting off the ground. I was raised by a German. She took care of me, and she'd always give me Mamba candies when I was good. So that was the first when I met Melanie. That was the first thing that she gave me. It was in her car. Her car. She keeps it in her car for her son. Yes. Let's talk, Christina Heike. Let's see what we can. So let's see what we can do together. Look at this. Alexis Fuentes is tuning
Hi,
in, giving you
Alexis.
some love. Amazing. Everybody is here for you.
Amazing
Everybody.
people. I'm so, like, it really moves me. Like, I have, like, there's so beautiful women, like, inside out, amazing people, and
Yeah.
I'm really happy. I'm happy that they're here.
And
Uh,
man. And man, the
yeah.
me. So here's the thing that I really love about the way that you're describing the way that trauma can show up. You're talking about the idea that it can show up in a lot of different ways. It depends per person. So
Yes.
really the impetus is on each and every person who's watching right now to really have the intuition and the insight to know that your body is feeding you data already. And so it's probably saying, look, there's a trauma here that you can check out. And it's showing up in the solar plexus, right? Or it's showing up as a squeezing feeling in the throat, right? But you have to understand that it's not just a way of living. It's probably data letting you know you might want to get this checked out and find the right person like Christina to talk to about this.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes, totally. I think my body was my other compass. Really, like with the physical symptoms I had. Yes, exactly. You already said it.
Yeah.
You know, big migraines and other things that I had already as a teenager. Really, like be like, hey, you overlooked something. Like, listen, hello. You know, and it doesn't so much matter if you believe that's how it is for the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Just use it as that.
Yeah.
You know, make use of like what's going on within you, and like physical pain, emotional pain, make use of it. Be like, oh, okay, so what can I do with it? Like, how can I look differently at that? How can I choose to do that differently?
I love it. There you go. There you go, talking about personal accountability, right? Making a choice, right? And to me, that sounds like the beginning of moving towards freedom, when you feel like you have a locus of control over some of the data that's coming in versus feeling like you're a victim to it.
Yeah. And if we feel too overloaded, get help, get support, you know, find a good person, like as a coach. I'm sure you're an amazing coach. Like, and find a network to tap into and where you trust, and start your journey. You know, I mean, that's what this life is about. It's not about just becoming a millionaire or becoming this. Like, it's becoming who we are, like on the inside, and share that with the world.
Oh, you must have
caused therapy is like really is really the best route I know in doing that. You know, supported with a lot of other modalities, but that's really what did it for me.
I absolutely love it. Now let's move towards sort of the releasing of the trauma piece. Because on the front end, the trauma looks different to every person. Is the release of trauma different to every person, or is there a similar origin, or is there a similar methodology or approach to releasing that trauma?
That's the immense beauty of new decision therapy. Mm-hmm. It is a technique.
Oh, right on. Okay.
It's really also a technique, a learnable technique. How you infuse it and how good you're gonna be in like really like figuring out what's going on for someone. That's one's personal part. But new decision therapy itself, it works with kinesiology. You know, it's like an energy psychology, really. Yeah. It's like the blockages are stuck energy on a cellular level. With muscle testing, we ask the body, are you ready to show up? Can we talk? Are you ready to work? And we have a piece in it that helps clear denial. That's super special. So that the body, mind, the whole person is there like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to listen to my truths. I'm ready for input. I'm ready to move forward. And with muscle testing, we find the point in time. We often find the exact situation when the energy shifted from, oh, I can do it, to like, oh my God, if this is how life is, I don't want it.
So there is cellular wisdom and cellular memory, is what you're saying, right?
Connected with a hard drive, obviously, but often the hard drive doesn't know anymore. It's like, because
it's true. Well, it's true. Like, it's overwhelmed.
I forgot because it's too painful, or I forgot because it was preverbal, or because I just, you know, like that's so it's not a reliable source. And again, in Buddhism, we often call that monkey mind the monkey mind, right? Because it's like it goes like, you know, it has a lot of stories to tell, and it's beautiful, but like, you know, don't believe everything it says.
Well, also in new decision therapy, there's a lot of mirror work and forgiveness work.
That's right.
Why is forgiveness work and mirror work, especially mirror work, right? Because there's a couple coaches I know that are using mirror work. Not a lot though. Why is looking into the mirror so much more powerful to releasing your trauma than maybe just doing the work with you, or does that make sense? Like, why is the mirror work just so salient to some people?
I don't want to go in the whole neuroscience, you know, there's a whole neuroscience of how, like when you look into your eyes and new decision therapy, it also depends on which person and gender you work with and which eye you look and all that. Just like as a main information, it's like, because in the end, it's all about facing yourself and it's all about self-forgiveness. You know, the other people are like a cast of characters in your show, in your life, and they show up for a certain reason, and it's all about you and yourself.
Amazing.
And that's where and that's a good message, because you can also solve it. You can release it. You don't need a conversation with the other person. You can have that, but you don't need to do it face to face. You don't need to have like, you can forgive someone, and what often happens, actually, that's a good example. Like we work with forgiving, like, the brother she hasn't talked to in 5 years. And like after the session, she picks up the phone and the brother has called. That's how amazing, like, we are connected with each other. We're all like quantum physics, you know, like we're all so much more connected than we maybe even want to believe. But that's the kind of energy psychology and new decision therapy taps into.
So when someone is on the path to sort of that, from moving from fear to freedom, let's say that you make a major breakthrough using new decision, just releasing ancestral and personal trauma. Is that something that someone needs to continue to revisit and go into sort of you know, like a caretaking mode to stay sustainable, or like once you make the breakthrough, does it completely disappear, or is it different per person?
Good question. So new decision therapy is the idea is that there are finite sessions, like to resolve the past trauma.
Okay.
And then, of course, you can always add on new trauma. Like, life is not stopping.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
like,
that.
You know, like, yeah, you know, like, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
So, let's see. I lost my train of thought.
So there's micro treatments, and then there's
okay. So there's a finite amount of new decision therapy sessions, which is different for each person, obviously. Yeah. Then there's another piece to it called cantillation that also works with muscle testing and acupuncture points that are connected to thought, emotional patterns. So that is really like that's the whipped cream on top of it. Food. I'm a foodie. Did I say that?
I absolutely love that you're putting these all in food metaphors. Like, my show airs during lunchtime, so I'm just like, oh my God, pizza and whipped cream. That's all I need right now. That's all I need right now.
And that's really revealing your purpose. You know, like getting everything aligned so that you can fully live your purpose. That's what cantillation is. New decision therapy takes care of the past so that you're not held back by your past imprints. And like what I mean, like, it's amazing. Like, most people I talk to, they're 60, 70, they still talk about their childhood and what went wrong and all that. Absolutely. Because it has such an impact on us.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And new decision therapy is a way of releasing that, and it's releasing it. So, like, when I talk about the fear right now, it's almost hard to remember because I don't have a felt memory.
Yep.
You know, because that button is released, like when, you know, that trigger button is released.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't mean that I can't be triggered into fear.
Yeah.
But not nearly in the same way that has happened. You know, like from not, and fear is really just one example. Like, sure. From not wanting to go out in the dark or all that. You know, I travel alone. I immigrated with my 9-year-old son 3 years ago, coming here, starting from scratch. I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, and again, that doesn't mean I'm fearless. I just have courage in the face of fear, and I decide where I want to use that courage and where I want to listen to my fear.
Absolutely.
Again, that's the important part. You know, get in the driver's seat
Yep.
in a good way, and choose what you want to do with your life, how you want to deal with this, because that's a gift. It's not a dress rehearsal, right? It's really a gift, and no one knows how much time we have,
You're
right?
right.
So let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, and one of the things that I think about too is almost like you can operate your life with these with these traumas. It just makes things. It seems like it makes things a little bit more plottish, a little bit more challenging. And so if you remove that trauma both on a personal and ancestral level, and you're proactive about maybe future trauma or building your resilience towards the trigger button being hit, you're clearing out all this space for you to have clarity, for you to take action, for you to for you to be very clear on who this like higher unique version of you is, like outside of all the things that have indoctrinated us over our life.
Yes.
And it's much easier to make major decisions, like maybe someone who's thinking about immigrating at this point. You can immigrate. It'll be harder with some of those traumas, but if you release it, it just makes life much more graceful and easy and joyful.
Easy, joyful,
Yeah.
begin living cloudless days is one of my taglines, despite of what life brings you, because suffering is optional, but pain is not.
Oh, love it, love it. I'm speaking to a modern day Buddha right now. I'm speaking to a modern day Buddha. You want to know what's wild?
Tell me.
We've been in flow for straight an hour right now.
Already?
Yeah,
Dang.
it's twelve
And
fifty five.
before I was like, for an hour, that's so long.
it's it's 12:55, Mama. I want you back on the show. And for those of you watching, the new decision therapy, mirror work, trauma, ancestral, both ancestral and personal. We could talk about this for hours. Now, here's the cool thing, and thank you for doing this. In the show notes, you'll see an inspired breathing manual that Christina has designed and is giving to our community, or gifting to our community for free. All you have to do is just go to her website, newdecisiontherapynyc.com, and it's on there. What else are we going to find on your website?
Well, my website is, I'm working on it.
Okay.
You're gonna find some information, but you find more information at the moment on my Facebook feed.
Okay, perfect.
Uh, there are two amazing, I love also to work in intensives with people, like 2 to 3 day intensives, because that shifts like such a load of energy, and just to add on, like, trauma healing doesn't have to be dreadful. It's like I laugh with my clients. I add on many of the modalities I've learned, like that I haven't even mentioned: the yoga, the meditation, the Ayurveda, the dance, the voice, the arts, like all of that,
All of it.
depending on who you are, gets like implemented and makes that an intense but a really joyful ride. And I offer these intensives here in New York, but in the summer I offer it in Croatia
Oh,
and in Berlin. So there are, I think,
Melanie. Hello.
two
Spots Gonna be in Germany this
in
summer.
Asia, oh, really, and
Yeah.
one spot left in Berlin. So if you're interested, yeah, DM me. And I think you put in, I also offer 2 or 3
I
free
did.
consultations like that. It's in the text.
I did. It's all in
It's,
the text. I
it's
mean,
on the
you
text.
two complimentary 30-minute consultations. If you type in the keyword Golden Mike hyphen freedom, Golden Mike hyphen freedom, two complimentary 30-minute sessions. To me, the most valuable thing another human can give. A human can give another human is their time. And so, like, thank you in advance for giving this to the community. A breathing manual, as well as two 30-minute sessions. Golden Mike hyphen freedom. Heike, we need to have you back. I mean, Christina
I'd love
Heike,
to.
we need to have you back.
I'd love to.
When we
There's
go
so
to
much more
when
to
I'm
say.
back in New
It's
York,
crazy.
when I'm back in New York too, you and I are getting a slice of pizza because I'm starving now because of you.
With whipped cream.
With whipped cream, absolutely, Germany. I love you. You're awesome. Now this is the deal. I don't know if you've seen this part, Heike, of the. Yes, I'm calling you Heike on purpose now. Of the show. But
Okay.
it's called the golden mic because I want you to envision a golden mic is now coming down from your ceiling and it's coming to rest in front of you. Now, the power of this golden mic is that it translates, Christina, into every language all across the world. So whatever you want to say in this golden mic, the entire world will be listening to. So, Christina, I'm going to turn on the golden mic, and the world is listening to what it needs to hear from you. Christina, you're on the golden mic live.
Gee, okay. Trust yourself and take your life in your hands. Suffering is optional. Pain is not. I think start your journey. Begin living like the cloudless days. It's like remembering the blue sky is always there and the clouds are just passing by.
Christina,
And it's that I would love for people like to make it visible, that place of peace, of being at ease, you know, like even when I was triggered yesterday and I'm okay. Golden mic is over.
Oh, okay. Golden mic is over. Okay, I was like, this is amazing. You're just like talking to the world right now into the golden mic. When I was triggered yesterday, world, I was. No. That's amazing.
You
well,
know,
before you go into
I believe in you. I believe in every one of you. You know, it's really that's my like, yeah.
Amazing. This has been the funnest ever. Flow's an amazing thing, y'all. When you meet someone and you just go into this sort of amazingly fast, very intense conversation, which I know that we could have probably had for a couple hours if we were sitting here. Christina, I want you to take that golden mic because we're going to pass it to someone at 4:00, right? I want you to take that golden mic. Do you feel the weight of that? Do you feel the weight of that golden mic? No, I want you to throw it on the ground. I want you to drop that mic. I want you to step on that mic. Step on it. Smash that
Really?
mic.
Damn, I'm more of a peaceful warrior, but like, how about I throw it over my shoulder?
Yeah, you did. Throw it over your shoulder. Just do the mic drop. Do the mic drop. Absolutely amazing. From fear to freedom. We've got an inspired breathing manual created by Christina the Great on her website, newdecisiontherapynyc.com. Also at the same time, not one, but two 30-minute sessions. She's giving and donating her time to seeing through what she might be able to consult you on. If you go golden mic-freedom, that's the great Christina. We'll have you back soon. The crowd absolutely loves you up in here today. So like we're gonna have to definitely bring you back. You're a ratings killer. But more importantly, I'm after today's golden mic at 4. I'm gonna shut off the mic. Why? Because we're gonna spend the time this weekend with the people we care about and the people we love. Social media is great, but we got to get out there and interact with humans, people. So, Christina, I want to thank you. This has been episode 149, and Christina and I actually, for those of you watching, have a final question for you. If you're feeling good and you're living your life in its fullest purpose, what is your responsibility to change history for the better? Christina Heike, Mark Cordone, Golden Mic 149. We'll see you next week. See ya.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Christina.
Bye.